AITA for locking my property gates and turning on the lawn sprinklers after my cousin ignored my refusal and tried to hold her unlicensed wedding in my private garden. The coastal town of Savannah, Georgia is famous for its moss-draped oak trees and historic charm. And after years of intense landscape design work, I managed to create my own private paradise. I own a beautifully restored historic cottage situated on a flat, 2-acre clearing surrounded by dense, towering willow oaks. Over the past 6 years, I have invested thousands of dollars and countless hours of physical labor, transforming my backyard into a botanical showcase. It features manicured creeping bent grass lawns, delicate English rose gardens, and a custom stone courtyard with a central tiered fountain. To me, this land isn't just a yard. It is a living art project that requires constant maintenance and protection. Because the property is so visually striking, it looks exactly like a high-end luxury wedding venue. But my garden is strictly a private sanctuary. I have never opened it to commercial events, nor do I have the municipal permits, commercial liability insurance, or parking infrastructure to handle large crowds. It is a peaceful, quiet residential zone that was until my cousin Amanda decided that her financial convenience completely overrode my property boundaries. Amanda is 24, deeply embedded in social media aesthetic culture, and possesses a profound sense of personal entitlement. Last autumn, she got engaged and immediately began planning an elaborate luxury-style wedding on a shoestring budget. 3 months ago, she called me out of the blue, her tone dripping with artificial sweetness. "Hey cousin," Amanda had chimed over the phone. "So I was looking at photos of your backyard, and it is literally the perfect vibe for my garden wedding. Since we're family, I know you won't mind letting us use the property for the weekend of May 30th. It saves us a $6,000 venue fee, and your garden gets some great exposure." I didn't hesitate for a single second. "Amanda, I am incredibly happy for your engagement, but the answer is an absolute no," I said clearly and directly. "My garden cannot handle that kind of foot traffic. I don't have the commercial permits for an event. Our local zoning laws strictly prohibit unlicensed commercial gatherings, and my homeowner's insurance would completely drop me if anyone got hurt. I cannot host your wedding here." "Oh, come on, don't be a party pooper," Amanda scoffed, her tone turning instantly sharp. "It's just a small group of family and friends. No one is going to call the city. You're being incredibly selfish." "The answer is final, Amanda. Please find an official venue." I thought that was the end of it. I assumed a direct, unambiguous refusal would be respected. I had no idea that Amanda viewed my no simply as a minor hurdle to be completely ignored. The next 2 months passed in absolute silence. Amanda never brought up the property again, and her mother, my Aunt Claire, gently mentioned on a family call that Amanda had found a rustic alternative space for her special day. I felt a wave of relief, assuming maturity had finally prevailed. Then came last Saturday morning, the exact date of Amanda's scheduled wedding. At 7:15 a.m., I was sitting on my back porch in my bathrobe, drinking a quiet cup of coffee. The morning air was perfectly still. Suddenly, a massive white commercial box truck rumbled down my narrow gravel driveway, its brakes screeching as it pulled directly onto my front lawn, leaving deep, muddy tire ruts in the delicate turf. I ran down the porch steps, throwing my cardigan over my shoulders. "Excuse me, can I help you?" I shouted as 2 men in uniform stepped out of the cabin. "Yeah, we're here with the event rental company," the driver said, holding a clipboard. "We've got the delivery order for the Amanda and Kyle wedding. 100 white wooden folding chairs, a 12-piece catering staging kitchen, a grand floral archway, and a commercial audio speaker setup. Where do you want the main altar erected?" My jaw dropped in pure, unadulterated shock. Before I could even answer the delivery driver, a second vehicle, a catering van, pulled in right behind him, followed by an aggressive SUV. The door to the SUV flew open, and Aunt Claire stepped out, wearing a formal pastel dress and carrying a massive box of silk table runners. "Good morning, dear," Aunt Claire called out, walking past me as if she owned the title deed to my house. "I know Amanda said you were being a bit difficult about this, but we knew you'd come around once the big day arrived. We have 75 guests arriving at 2 p.m. The decorators need immediate access to your rose garden, and we need to plug the catering warming ovens into your garage circuits. Are you completely out of your minds?" I said, my voice dropping into an intense, unyielding register. I told Amanda explicitly 3 months ago that she could not use my property. I never signed a contract. I never gave permission, and you are currently committing civil trespass. "Oh, stop being so dramatic," Aunt Claire snapped, her smile vanishing into an icy glare. "The caterers are paid for. The guests are driving here right now, and the invitations list this address. You cannot ruin your cousin's wedding day over your stubborn pride. Move out of the way and let the men work." I turned directly to the commercial delivery drivers. "Listen to me carefully," I told them, keeping my voice dead calm and authoritative. "I am the sole legal owner of this property. This event is entirely unlicensed, unauthorized, and unapproved. If you unload a single chair onto this grass, I am calling the county sheriff's department to report a commercial property breach, and I will ensure your rental company is cited for illegal staging." The delivery drivers looked at each other, saw the absolute seriousness in my eyes, and immediately stepped back into their truck. "Not our circus, ma'am," the driver said, rolling up his window. "We're leaving the site." Aunt Claire let out a high-pitched shriek of pure rage as the box truck and the catering van slowly backed out of my driveway, leaving her standing on my lawn next to her SUV. "You monster," she screamed at me. "You just turned away her wedding furniture. Where is she supposed to get married in 4 hours?" "Not here," I said. "You need to get in your car, leave my driveway, and tell Amanda to find a public park or a legitimate event venue that actually has a permit. Aunt Claire tore out of my driveway, her tires kicking up gravel. The moment her car disappeared down the road, I knew this conflict wasn't over. Amanda was desperate, and desperate people do not respect property lines. I immediately walked down my long driveway to the main entrance. I pulled my heavy, solid iron security gates shut and locked them with a massive, hardened steel master padlock. I then went to my garage side entrance and manually overrode my automated lawn care system. My property is equipped with a high-output, multi-zone commercial agricultural irrigation system fed by a deep water well. It features 24 high-pressure pop-up rotary sprinklers designed to completely saturate the 2-acre lawn with hundreds of gallons of water per minute. I set the manual timer to activate the entire system at exactly 1:30 p.m., 30 minutes before her unapproved guests were scheduled to arrive. If Amanda thought she could simply crash my gates and march down my lawn in a white dress, she was about to face a literal wall of high-pressure water. By 1:45 p.m., the absolute climax of the madness arrived. I was sitting inside my living room with the blinds drawn, watching my security camera feed on my tablet. The iron gates at the edge of my property were completely locked, but that didn't stop them. A line of 20 guest cars was parked haphazardly along the narrow public shoulder of the rural road. Suddenly, a sleek white limousine pulled up to the gate. Amanda stepped out of the vehicle, looking radiant in a full tulle wedding gown, her veil flowing behind her. But her face was twisted into an expression of absolute manic fury. She marched up to my locked iron gates, rattling the metal bars with both hands. "Open these gates right now, you selfish bitch," she screamed toward my house. "You are ruining my life. Open the gates." When I didn't come out, Marcus, Amanda's brother, lifted the bottom of her heavy wedding dress trail, while Amanda and her bridesmaids literally began squeezing themselves through the narrow gap between the historic brick pillars and the iron gate hinges. Completely ignoring the private property, no trespassing signs, they breached my perimeter. Amanda, her groom, her bridal party, and roughly 30 early guests who followed them began marching across my pristine north lawn, heading straight toward the central rose garden. They made it exactly 10 paces before my irrigation system clicked over. With a massive, synchronized hiss, 24 high-pressure commercial rotary sprinklers popped out of the grass. Within 2 seconds, the entire lawn was hit with a torrential, rotating crossfire of well water. The transformation from an elegant bridal procession to absolute, wet chaos was instantaneous. The security feed looked like a scene from an emergency evacuation. High-velocity streams of water blasted directly into Amanda's tulle gown, instantly soaking the fabric and turning her pristine white dress into a heavy, transparent, mud-soaked weight. Her expensive bridal makeup began streaming down her face in dark streaks, and her delicate silk veil collapsed flat against her head like wet plastic wrap. "Turn it off! Turn it off!" Marcus screamed, trying to block a rotating sprinkler head with his dress shoe, only to receive a high-pressure blast of water directly to his face. The bridesmaids were screaming in their formal heels, slipping and sliding on the wet sod as they turned and ran back toward the iron gates. The groom was holding his wet lapels over his head, looking completely humiliated as he retreated toward the road. The early guests, dressed in their finest wedding attire, scrambled in every direction, their leather shoes getting completely ruined in the sudden, manufactured downpour. Amanda stood in the center of my north lawn for 30 seconds, completely drenched, screaming at the top of her lungs at my closed windows before the sheer volume of water forced her to turn around and flee back through the gate. By 2:15 p.m., the road was entirely clear. The limousine had sped away, the guests had fled to their cars, and my lawn was left to finish its watering cycle in absolute peace. But within an hour, the family group chat became an absolute tactical war zone. Amanda posted a video of her soaked, mud-stained wedding gown to social media, accompanied by a caption accusing me of a targeted, malicious assault on her family's safety and happiness. My phone began to vibrate continuously with furious texts from aunts, uncles, and cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. From Aunt Claire, "You are a sick, twisted individual. You didn't just protect your yard. You intentionally humiliated a young bride on her wedding day. Amanda had to hold her ceremony in the parking lot of a local public park while soaking wet. Her dress is completely ruined, and her grandmother was crying in the car. You are permanently dead to this family." It is now Monday afternoon, and the coastal Georgia sun has completely dried my botanical sanctuary. I walked my perimeter this morning to inspect the property. Fortunately, because I stopped the delivery trucks early, the heavy commercial damage was averted. The north lawn has completely recovered from the brief foot traffic. My English roses are blooming beautifully, and the stone courtyard is perfectly intact. The only lingering mark is a set of muddy tire ruts near my mailbox from the guest parking, which I can easily top dress with sand this weekend. David, my brother, called me this morning to offer some actual perspective. He told me that Amanda had lied to the entire family for months, telling everyone that I had happily donated the venue as a wedding gift. She had even collected $500 attendance fees from some distant relatives to cover her catering costs, using my beautiful property as her primary marketing hook. When her elaborate lie collapsed, she used my sprinklers as a convenient excuse to play the ultimate victim. My relationship with Amanda's side of the family is completely, permanently severed, and I am entirely at peace with that outcome. I am not the asshole. Protecting your home, your physical investments, and your legal safety from an organized, deceptive invasion isn't cruel. It is a fundamental right of property ownership. Amanda ignored a direct refusal, committed civil trespass, and tried to force a high-risk commercial event onto a private residence. The sprinklers didn't ruin her wedding. Her absolute lack of boundaries did. My iron gates remain locked, my garden remains a pristine temple of quiet order, and my home is safely protected from family entitlement forever.